I got away with a sackable offence for a whole year to risk it all to get into IB. Woo! Okay, cool. So this is the third part of my journey of trying to get into investment banking, and as you can probably see, it was a long journey. Um, so I left off with saying that I went into my next role, which was which is a fund of funds. It was a retail house, but they were making a new institutional team within that. So it was asset management, still buy side, and I was going in as an institutional client relationship manager. Yeah, I was super lucky to get the job because I feel like people I was against were probably more qualified than me. But as soon as I went for my interview and I spoke with my manager, we just hit it off. Sometimes you just get a connection with someone, and that's the key. I always say to people, try. You can almost feel when you almost know when you're going to get a job. I just had a connection with this person straight away when we interviewed, and I was like, I can see myself working for this person. I want to work for this person, and lo and behold, I end up getting the job. I want to just take it back there. So my last interview before getting the job was actually with HR. And the HR person said something to me which has helped me with the rest of my life, to be honest with you, since that point. He said to me, this was before I got the offer, he just said to me, he goes, you're never going to be without a job for he said, the way you come across, the way you interview, the way you are as a person, he said, you're never going to be without a job because people will want to hire you. That gave me so much belief in terms of taking risks. I was like, okay, cool. Now I can just basically do what I want in terms of taking risks, and I feel like I can always find my feet. And yeah, so I want to credit that person just for just that moment because it unlocked something inside of me. Anyway, I went to my new job, and this was before COVID. So before COVID, working from home wasn't really a thing. Like flexible working was quite rare. Now, this company that I joined was all about flexible working, which was kind of mad at that point. So my boss said, I want you to be in 2 to 3 days a week minimum. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I was like, my first few months, I want to be in every day because I just don't know what I'm doing. And I had to basically barter with him to get him to be okay with that. Like he was like, no, it's fine. Like just come in like 2, 3 days a week. Just let us know which days you want to come in, just so we always have someone on our pod in the office. And it was hot desking as well, which hot desking then was not a big thing. Yeah, so I joined this company, and at that point there we had like 80 employees, so a fairly small company. But it was so cool, man. The energy was so good. The CEO is probably the best CEO I've worked for in terms of he just had energy, man. Like some people just have exude this energy and it drips down from the top. And yeah, I loved it. Honestly, like I made some really cool friends there. I was one of the younger people there because because it was a new company. It started like in 2011 or something, or 2008 maybe. So people had been with it from the start. So they were like 10 years older than me. And there weren't many people my age in the company. But yeah, no, it was super cool experience. Essentially what I was doing was we had a couple of clients. So I got to manage some of our biggest clients. So two of them were in the Netherlands and one of them was in France as well. So we were providing advisory services for the one in France, and the one in the Netherlands, we were helping to manage their pension fund. So yeah, we didn't have AUM as such because we were fund of funds, but we had AUA, so assets under advisory. So AUM generally is like the amount of money you manage, like client money you manage. But because we were investing client money into funds, we weren't technically managing the money. So that's why it was AUA. And we had over 30 billion of that, and like all of that pretty much was our team. So we were a very lean team. And so my day to day was like basically just managing the relationship, going for pitches for new pension funds as well, and working just internally, like we're doing a bit of, so that was almost like salesy. So doing a bit of salesy stuff, making sure that we were doing reports on a monthly and quarterly basis being sent out to our end clients as well. And yeah, just working with the investment team, it was super cool. Like I made some really good friends in the investment team and or the product team as well. and just working like all on one floor. It was honestly such a nice vibe. The best place I've worked at by far. However, in my first couple of months I was there, I was like, wow, I'm not doing much. I was literally getting in at like 9:30, and I'd leave at like 4:35. And sometimes you go on client lunches, which are like a couple of hours, whatever. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And they were paying me pretty well. I did the IMC, so I had that, and I harbored the ambition to do the CFA. So I was thinking, do I do that? But then I thought, you know what? Sorry, I missed out a bit. So let me go back. So as I was actually interviewing for this role, I was still going through the grad process in terms of trying to get a grad role. And this was the year I was like, you know what, let me try and open the door to audit. So I actually end up getting an offer from a company who I'll talk about in the next one. Yeah, I end up getting an offer from an audit company for a grad role, which for someone of my age at that point in time was hard. So I was really grateful for them. However, I didn't really want to do it. And obviously I was like, let me see how this job goes first. So what I did, I told the grad company, can we defer it for a year? And the reason I gave them was because I'm going to do a master's. And that's what I end up doing. So I was like, I'm kind of bored in this role. Like, I'm going to get bored. I get bored so easy. I need things to do. And I thought, you know what? Let me have another crack at trying to get into IB. And the way I thought about it, I was like, okay, let me try and apply to some masters that are within finance and stuff. And the year before, I went to an Evercore open day, and their standout performer from their grad program was a guy called Joss something. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, I just remember the name Joss. And he said he had done a master's in corporate finance it was then called CAS, but Bayes Business School. I was like, okay, cool. So I looked at there, and it was honestly a hell of a lot of money. I was like, you know what, let me just do it. So I ended up taking out a postgrad loan, took a personal loan as well, applied, got in. Yeah, it was a full-time course. Now, you're not allowed to do two full-time things together. So I never ended up telling my workplace that I was doing a master's, and I never told where I was doing my master's that I had a full-time job. But I needed to live. I need to earn money to live in London. So I couldn't do this master's if it wasn't for my job. So yeah, I embarked on this. I hate lying, but I lied for a whole year. And that was the hardest bit of it, because my day-to-day job was quite easy. And what I would do is, on the 2 days I would work from home, I would be at uni going to my lectures, and I'd always have my work laptop on me just in case. And sometimes I would dip out of the lecture to take a call or whatever and do that. And then there was one day where I used to have a 12 till 3 lecture, and I was like, you know what, I could probably go to work that day and just take a long lunch. So what I used to do was I used to go into work and just take a massive lunch, 12 till 3, and come back to work. And I think I got away with it madly. What I also used to do, because like I said, I had this FOMO mentality at this point, I bought a dictaphone, a Sony dictaphone. And ironically, one of my friends who was on an internship at AXA was actually doing this course as well. So I used to say, mate, can you just have this? Or I made some friends anyway on my course, and I said, can you just record? So there were certain times where on them 12 till 3 days, someone inside me was like, I need to get back to work. So I'd leave like 2 hours into the lecture, like when we had a break, and I'd go back to work. So it was only a 10-minute walk from my office. So I'd go back to work, and I'd leave my dictaphone saying, can you just record it for me? So they would record it, because they weren't all like some lecturers were like, we want everyone to come to class. So they weren't recording lectures. Anyway, so I'd get my mate to record it, and then on the weekends, I'd just listen back and take notes and stuff. Ironically, I only missed one lecture that whole year, which is a lot less than most people who were just doing that full time. I would take holidays for exam periods, and I was always kind of scared that they would see me wandering around London being like, oh, I thought you were on holiday. But yeah, it never came to that. That year, I remember my housemates, because I was living in Fulham, were like, we thought you were dead for like 4 months because we didn't see you. I was literally just working and studying, working and studying, working and studying. But both full time, which is more than like you have to do it like ACA where you're literally given time to study. Anyway, I did it. And the only thing that I regret is not getting involved in the social stuff as much, just because time wouldn't allow me to because of my work. People utilize the social, like the societies, like the M&A societies and stuff, whatever it was, to get a network and then get a job afterwards. Because I didn't do that, I didn't build really a network to try and get a job. And I only ended up getting one interview that year and I fluffed it. It was with ING Bank, and one of the worst experiences I've ever had in an interview. I was told it was going to be a competency one and a technical interview, so 2 separate interviews. So I know competency I can nail, so I was fine with that. Technical, I was like, I need to really revise. Anyway, I did a bunch load of revision. The first one was technical and I did well in it. I think the people liked me. I think I did well. Went to the competency one. Now, straight away, I'll never forget the guy who interviewed me. I walked into the room and the first thing he said, because it was for an off-cycle internship, he said, "Oh, you look old." Which nowadays, I should have just pulled him up to HR then. But yeah, I was like, okay. And he's like, second thing he said, "Would you take crap from this guy who was next to him, who is younger than me, but he was like basically being full time, so I'd technically be reporting into that guy." I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, anyway, from that moment, he made it into a technical interview. He did like one competency question, which I did well in, and then he just made it into a technical interview. And I wasn't prepared for the technical stuff he was asking me, and I flopped. I literally got stuff wrong, and the guy literally told me after I got like my third question wrong, he said, "Next time you have an interview, make sure you prepare, because you wasted your own time, you wasted my time, you wasted this guy's time." And it's, yeah. I was like, okay. And you know what? It was weird, really weird. I left and I literally laughed to myself. I was like, wow, that went so bad. And I'm really good at preparing for interviews, so that was weird for me. So yeah, obviously I didn't get that. But I know people who did utilize connection and stuff and then get jobs. But for me, I did not get any. I actually went back to Evercore for an open day, and I got talking after the presentations to some people, and I chatted to the head of HR there. And I mentioned Joz's name. I name dropped this. So you should do these kind of things. I name dropped Joz's name and I said, look, that's why I'm doing my master's now at Cass and whatever. And she was like, straight away, she went, "Let me take your name and your email." She was like, "Have you applied to us before?" I said, "Yeah, but I never get through the initial application phase." She was like, "I'll get you an interview." I was like, okay, cool. So they outsourced their initial thing to Dartmouth Partners, right? So I applied, and this is the first time I got a call from Dartmouth Partners. I was like, wow, this is actually going to work. And I had a telephone interview with them, and it went great. Right at the end of it, she was like, "Right, we're going to set you up for an interview next week. Are you available on this time?" I was like, "Yes." Cool. I was like, cool, I'm going to go to Evercore. This is going to be sick. At least get an interview anyway. And then she said at the end, "Oh, by the way, you've not listed your A-level grades on your CV. What were they?" I was like, oh my God. And I told her, and she's like, "Okay, thank you, bye." I was like, I'm not going to get this. Anyway, now 3 weeks go by, heard nothing. So obviously no interview set up. I tried getting in touch with Dartmouth Partners. No one got in touch with me. I then reached out to the head of HR at Evercore. She was like, "Let me sort this." Within 10 minutes, I get a call from Dartmouth Partners. She was like, "Hey, so basically, yeah, we can't offer you it because you don't meet the A-level requirements," which wasn't on their website. I was like, okay, cool. She's like, "Yeah, we have to have a threshold, and unfortunately you didn't make it." I was like, okay. She's like, "Although like you are more qualified in terms of you're doing literally a corporate finance masters and stuff, and you've worked in sort of investments before." I was like, yeah, I don't really understand how that can be a detriment at this stage in my career. She's like, "It's just the way it is." And I was like, that's why I tell everyone now, please just focus on your A-levels. It has held me back so much. And honestly, look, I've had so much rejection, and it was just another dagger blow. I was like, I just can't be bothered. Like, anyway, I'm still going through Architas, doing my thing there, lying every day through my teeth. People are just like, "We don't know what you actually do." People thought I literally did nothing at work. What I actually did, because I was like, crap, they're going to be onto me. Duolingo have an online, well, they used to have an online thing, right, that you could basically do Duolingo on your laptop. So I used to put a privacy screen on at work and just smash out 3 to 4 hours of Duolingo a day just to make it look like I'm typing and stuff. I managed, when I was at Architas in my year and a half there, I weirdly got credited for bringing in 140 million net new money, which I, to this day, I didn't really do. I helped facilitate it, but I didn't bring it in. Anyway, I got shout out literally in the town hall for that. And people thought I was really good. And maybe I was. Maybe I just don't know what I was doing. I just don't know what I was doing. I don't know what value I was adding. But I was getting stuff done, maybe they just didn't have people that could get stuff done. I don't know. Anyway, I came back after Christmas after my exams, and I noticed that my boss, who was reporting into the CEO, was now reporting into someone else who reports into the CEO. So I was like, has he been demoted? What's happening to our team? And I had a frank chat with him, and he was like, no, I mean, obviously he's not going to tell me everything, but I could see he was annoyed. And I was like, because the plan was that I was sort of going to be the UK head of institutional at the age of like 25 or whatever. So in my head, I started thinking, where does this leave me? And I thought, you know what? I've still got that ACA offer, that grad scheme audit that I deferred for a year. Maybe I'll take that. So it got to us near the summer, and I said I was going to do my CFA. And my boss just basically gave me what he was like, how much do you want to do it? I was like, I don't know, 3 grand. He was like, I'll give you 6. Oh, okay, cool. But I never signed it because in the back of my mind, I was like, I'll have to pay this back if I leave. So I never signed it. And he kept asking me, have you sorted that out? I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it next month or whatever. And I remember going to a catch-up with him. We used to have monthly catch-ups, which I think is really good. I think all teams should employ that. Not all teams do. And I used to have to fill out a sheet before I went. And on that sheet, it said job satisfaction. And the job satisfaction, it was always like 4. I never go 5 out of 5. It was always 4. And I put it down to a 2. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm thinking of leaving. I told him I harbour this ambition to go into corporate finance and go into IB. And I said, this is a long way round, but I really want to do it. And I feel like this is the right moment to do it. And then he said to me, he goes, I'm going away for the next 2 weeks. He goes, when I'm back, we can revisit this conversation. If you change your mind, we'll pretend like this never happened. Which was so good of him. He is the best boss I've ever had to this day. Just the fact that he said that to me meant a lot. Anyway, he came back and I said, yeah, I still want to leave. And he's like, yeah, I kind of knew it. Because he said, when you started talking about banking and stuff, you had a glint in your eye. And I can see that's what you want to do. I said, yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, I ended up giving him my notice. And yeah, taking a massive leap of faith because I was taking over 60% pay cut, starting from the bottom again. But it's always about, this is what I say to people, long term. You got to think long term. And I was like, I'm just going to have to suck it up for a few years. But I know that this is a way to get in. And it was at a mid-tier firm. It wasn't a big 4. I was like, let me just see where I can take this. And yeah, that's what ended up happening. I'll leave my transition to the mid-tier firm I work for into the next video. But thank you again for watching. Any questions on this, please do let me know in the comments below. I'll probably miss so much stuff. Please follow me. Please subscribe, please like, please share, please comment, do all that good stuff on here. But also follow me on all the platforms. I'm on HB Does Life, it's the same handle on TikTok, but I also do music. So please follow my music. That's the reason why I started all this stuff, to help grow my brand and help people. So It's Really HB is my handle everywhere. I've got a song called Confidence out. I've released it earlier this year, so please check that out. Also, I have my own business, which I co-founded with my business partner. It's called The Mirum. So it's The Mirum UK is our handle everywhere. And our website is themirum.co.uk. That's MIRUM. Please check that out everywhere. We're trying to grow that business. And we're at Taste of London this year. So yeah, please do get in touch and please follow, please support if you're liking this content. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.